Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You look- Thank you, honey.
Oof.
Good to see your smiling face. How's your back?
It's okay. It's all right. One of those things.
Yeah. What'd you do to it?
Oh, I have a couple of herniated discs.
Ooh, that's something that every 30-something should have to go through.
Yeah, I told my doctor, I was like, I'm too young for this. He goes, oh, actually, you're not. That's not true. I was like, oh, super. Thank you. Thanks, doc.
On the contrary.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, how did the rest of the run go?
Amazing. Yeah, 412 people saw it total.
Wow.
Yeah, we were pretty pleased with that, given the circumstances with the COVID, and we had great feedback, and the kids were amazing. They just needed an audience to come to life. You know how that is.
And comedy's so hard. It's so hard.
It is. And you know how the two layers that worked on, the two levels, I was always worried about it. Was that going to come across? And they nailed it. Once the ingredient, the people who wrote it obviously were geniuses, because once that ingredient of the audience came in, the kids found that sweet spot.
Yeah.
That nuance was there, and they just played up everything they needed to play up, and kept creating, and just had so much fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm glad. And I mean, I've been seeing the kids like posting stuff, and they're so excited.
Yeah. We were just pinching ourselves. We were so thrilled to be able to do a show. Everybody stayed healthy. Everybody got to be on stage. We lost a couple crew. I think I told you.
Yeah.
Nobody got sick, but they had to quarantine. So
yeah. How are Ari's parents? Are they okay?
Angie. Hi, Angie. Yeah.
More people here. Oh my goodness. Hello. Hi.
Denver. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Doing good. I'm trying to.
Yeah. You do your thing, Katie.
Trying to figure out how to live stream. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh, it's happening. I think go live. Yes, I want to go live.
Hey, Denver.
Hi, Denver.
Hello, everyone. I figured it out.
Happy Thanksgiving early. Happy birthday, Denver.
Hi.
Hi. Didn't you just birthday?
In October.
Oh, I thought I saw you post something about how you happy birthday to yourself. You bought. Oh yeah.
A belated birthday gift, which took a month to get here. So.
Gotcha. Happy belated.
Betsy, that looks like our couch too. Your couch looks very similar to ours.
It's brown corduroy. It's a sectional, and I have not left it all day. It's
looks
awesome.
Very comfy.
Yeah. This last week of school was brutal, so I just decided that this is where I'm going to be today.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was rough.
Do y'all get the whole week off? Are you taking?
Yes. Yes.
So nice. So nice.
It is. It's a blessing, and we need it because so many kids kept getting quarantined. I had my one sophomore class is 28 kids, and I had 20 of them out, 2 of them sick, and it took the rest of the 18 of them out on quarantine. So I was teaching to 8 kids yesterday.
Oh my.
No.
Yeah.
No.
The sophomore class taken out, but
oh my goodness.
Anyway.
That's one way of getting a good student to teacher ratio, I guess.
They got some personal attention. I don't know if they wanted it, but they got some personal attention with our research papers this week. I tell you.
Oh goodness. Well, hello, people. I do not know. Angie, I believe we messaged yesterday, right? Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Hello. I'm Katie. It's nice
to meet
everybody. Hi, Denver. Nice to meet you.
This is Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Howdy.
So I am doing this weird thing called the Bryan Project. I don't know if anybody is familiar with it.
Weird.
Yeah, but this is this is kind of a way for people to get to know it a little bit better. I'm streaming on Facebook Live. I don't know if I've got one person joining us, and so anybody that joins on Facebook Live can comment and ask questions. But it's just kind of an opportunity for me to share the project a little bit more, and for anybody that's curious about it to ask questions. But I thought it would be kind of fun if we got to know each other just a little petite. And do just like a quick name and story about your name if you have one. I can start. So my name is Katie, and the story I have about my name is actually about my mom. Her name is Alicia, A-L-I-C-I-A, and everyone pronounces it Alicia. So she was determined to name her children very straightforward, easy names. My brother is Sean Patrick. I'm Catherine Margaret, and so nobody ever mispronounces our name. That's my name story. So
Are you Irish by chance?
Say again. I'm sorry.
Are you Irish?
How could
Are
you
you
have
Irish?
guessed? How could you have guessed?
Wild.
Yeah, Sean Patrick and Catherine Margaret. That's pretty strong. And Butler, no less. So yeah, that's my name story. I will pass it to Betsy.
Okay. Well, mine's kind of complicated. I was born Jennifer. My birth mother named me Jennifer. And then I was adopted, and my older sister in my adoptive family is named Jennifer. So I couldn't be Jennifer anymore.
Wow.
Yep. And no offense to anyone named Barbara, but that was going to be my name. My adopted dad wanted to name me Barbara, and thank goodness my adoptive mom went out for Elizabeth, and they call me Betsy. So
That's amazing.
I don't think I look like a Babs. What do you think?
I think you can pull off a Babs. I think you
I could
could.
see us calling you Babs. I could see it.
Or Barb.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, my name story is kind of convoluted.
that's
it's
cool
pretty
though. That's so interesting. And you can pass it to whomever you would like.
Jeremy.
I don't really have a name story. I have no idea. My parents had picked it. That's all I know.
Aces.
We'll scoot it over to Angie since we're sharing a screen.
Sharing a screen. My real name is Angelina, but my mother wanted to name me Esmeralda when I was born, and my father absolutely said no.
Thank goodness.
My parents are from Texas, and there is a town called Angelina. So my dad thought that I'd look like a little angel. So
Aww.
I got the name Angelina.
Where in Texas
now
are they from?
They're from South Texas.
Okay.
Like really South Texas.
Like Brownsville?
Almost to the border. Brownsville, La Villa, Harlingen, yeah, down, so.
Down. Got it.
Texas. But I've been here all my life. I was born here. So I'm here.
Awesome.
That's good. That's exactly what Katie wants for this project.
Mm-hmm. All right, Denver, what you got?
Well, contrary to what you might think, I was not born in Colorado. I was born in Ohio. Actually, there is a Roman numeral after my name. I'm the third.
Oh.
My grandfather. And I found out that my grandfather was named after Denver Scarberry, who was his father's best friend. And my middle name, Lee, was my great-great-grandmother's maiden name. So.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Very, very lineage-oriented names.
Well, I do work at the local history center, and I do genealogy. So.
Well, there you go. It's very apropos. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And I'll invite anyone in the chat, anyone watching on Facebook Live. There's like a 20-second lag on Facebook Live, which is super annoying. So anybody that is watching, if you want to tell your name story, I'm here for it. I'm happy to hear it. So I think just get out of the way, like kind of how we got here and got to this place and what I'm doing now. So a couple of months ago, I was starting my last semester of graduate school in Philadelphia. I go to UArts, the Pig Iron School for Devised and Physical Performance, which is a very snooty theater degree. And usually our final project culminates into an ensemble devised piece that we would perform live, which for obvious reasons is not happening. So our entire semester is remote. The latter half of our spring semester was also remote, which made us get very creative with figuring out how we can make work the way that we do or not. And so Bryan is where I am born, or where I was born. My dad moved there to work at Arrow in 1988, in like January of 1988. My mother followed soon behind him. She was finishing her last semester of nursing school. There was also a lot of complicated stuff getting my brother out of the state. They were in Kansas City before they came to Bryan. There was a custody thing. It's my half brother, blah, blah, blah. Not important. Anywho, so my father moved my mother and my older brother to Bryan. She was pregnant with me at the time, and that's where I was born. My dad got another job in Fort Worth, Texas, in 1991, and moved my family there. And so I spent from 1991 all the way up through high school. And actually I got to stay home for college, which was really nice. I went to a local college. I stayed in that one house. And so I've always claimed Texas as home. Anytime anybody asks me where I'm from, I tell them I'm from Texas, because the place that I'm actually from, I know so little about. And before I started working on this project, I could not have pointed it out on a map. I had no idea where in Ohio it was. And my parents never talked about it. And it was just never it never felt like a part of my identity. And so I started getting really curious about that. So I was really interested in going back to Bryan and seeing if I could find the house that I grew up in, if I could find where my dad worked, find where my mom worked, that kind of thing, and like see if I could find some connection to this place that I didn't really know anything about. And on a lark, I emailed Betsy Zuver and asked if it would be okay if I could come in and see her and her students who were putting on a show. And I did not expect a response. And I got so much more than I thought I was going to get. And I'm eternally grateful for it. She welcomed me with open arms, and her students welcomed me. And I was able to do a whole workshop with her kids and sit in on a rehearsal and interview them. And it was so amazing. And it was the very first thing I did on that trip. I hadn't done, we got to the Days Inn in Wasion, dropped off our bags and went to the rehearsal. So it was the very first thing that we did, and it was just so amazing. The next day I found out that Arrow was gone. I found out that the house that I lived in was torn down. The address didn't exist anymore. There's just like no connection whatsoever. And I was like, well, this sucks. This whole project's kind of like, and so I got to thinking, and I talked to Betsy about it. And, I really wasn't feeling like those deep pangs of like, a calling from a place. Like I didn't feel any of that as far as like my personal history was concerned. I was like, well, maybe this isn't the direction this project is supposed to take. So thought about talking more to the people that live in Bryan and that grew up in Bryan and that love this town and learning more about it. And so I thought it would be cool to see what the people of Bryan need and want and try to do what I do to help facilitate that need. And so Betsy and her students expressed that there was, that while there's a lot of art and culture and theater and all kinds of wonderful things in this town, there does seem to be some sort of generational gap where there seems to be a stifling of emerging artists, where they feel there can be a sense of censorship for what they feel they can do. It's a smaller community, more rural, and how can we bridge that gap, and how can we reach a better understanding for this town to move forward and to thrive and to grow. So that's kind of the gist of my whole journey behind this project. I don't know if Betsy has anything she wants to say. No pressure. You don't have to say anything.
Well, just that, as blessed as you felt about this whole journey. I think it was so enriching for our kids. We typically try to, in a typical year, find some type of enrichment.
It's kind of a
project.
gist of.
Some type of professional or some type of other enriching artist. When we did The Liar, I brought in some people who knew how to fence, and we all learned how to fence for the show. When we did Our Town, I brought in, some theater professors from the University of Findlay to help us with the pantomime. And so I wasn't looking for anything this year because of COVID, and you came out of the sky, it was this perfect serendipitous moment and it was so exciting for the kids to meet you, and we grew so much from your workshop. And it's to have someone who's interested in them and their art, and it was just a blessing for us. Really exciting.
And for me as well. Thank you. So one thing I'm really interested in is hearing from, like I said, hearing from people that live in this town that, can directly impact their community. I'm wondering if the people that are here, Denver and Angie, if you have any thoughts surrounding the idea of generational gap or evolving traditions in the community.
Well, I'm not a native Bryanite. I've only lived here permanently for 15 years. I was born and raised in Athens, Ohio, which is a university town. So when I moved back to Bryan, in Athens, I always said that Athens is a place that you could see an opera on Friday night and a truck pull on Saturday night and not leave the city limits. That's basically what it was. But there were a lot of opportunities for art, and I grew up in theater, and I grew up with galleries. And when I moved to Bryan, I thought, what the hell have I done? I didn't see any of that here. But then I went to the BNI show at the middle school and found the Williams County Community Theater's booth. And I had been an actor since I was a little kid, and I became interested in one show they were doing, and I auditioned, and I got the part, and that was 2007, and since then I've met some of the closest friends I've ever had in my life. I've had some of the greatest experiences of my life. I've mentored kids. I've branched out. And I do, yes, there is definitely a generational gap, and there is a sense of censorship, even within our own theater community. If you get a script that may have a word, you're strongly suggested that you not use it on stage. Though I'm very proud of the fact that Jeremy and I bucked that rule when Jeremy directed Proof, and we put every last F word back in the show.
We sure did. And I actually had some people come up and ask us, did you add extras? Because when we saw it before, it didn't have any of that language. I said, I left it exactly how the author wrote it, which is exactly how it's supposed to be done. And the language that was in it was impactful. It was used in the right spots. It wasn't used gratuitously. It was used to drive home a point. And I think that's somewhat missed around here. They think just, it's a bad word, you can't say it. It's not the point. It's there's a reason that the author put those words in there in the way that they put them in there. I think that we should be true to the author's idea and not change it. Now, that's my personal opinion. Not everybody agrees with me there. So we've had to buck that, and I've had to. There's words that I haven't been able to say on stage, even if the line was hilarious. I am not supposed to say it.
And I want to speak to something that happened to Betsy. I was in a production of a show called Almost Maine, and there's a scene where two men fall in love. And when Betsy's school production was doing it here in Bryan High School, they changed the character to a man and a woman. And I felt for her.
I tried. I met with Yeah.
And I know.
That's what I'm gonna say is I tried. Yeah.
But
Well, the
these
interesting thing with that even is, you know, I come and watch the show before it had come out, and you know, I felt the same way. And in talking with the students, they were also very upset that they
Right.
were not able to do it as written.
Exactly.
But the school trumped them, said you cannot. And honestly, you know, I liked the scene, but it lost so much of the
Oh yeah.
impact
Oh yeah.
not being able to do it how it was supposed to be done. It was when we had done it on stage. It was a very powerful scene, even though it has
Beautiful
a
scene.
silly ending to it.
Yeah.
But it didn't register nearly as much when you put it as a different sex couple.
No, I remember Betsy you mentioning that y'all did Almost Maine, and I almost asked about that, and I didn't, but
Yeah. It was a great show for the group of kids that we had at the time, and there was much discussion, and the school just felt we weren't ready. Then the community wasn't ready, and they weren't ready to back that, I guess.
But let me tell you, may I say, as a gay man, this community is ready.
Oh, absolutely.
It's completely ready.
Yeah, yeah. But
there may be a small vocal minority that isn't, and that's what everybody's afraid of. But this community, those kids, I mean,
the kids absolutely.
Everybody's down on Generation Z, but Generation Z is going to save the friggin' world. They are so open-minded. They don't. I mean, even the prejudices my generation, Generation X, grew up with, are completely gone. And I wish some of those kids would stay here. That's the other problem, is the talent drain here. If you have talent, and particularly in the arts, you don't stay here.
Yeah.
You leave somewhere else.
Right. I will say real quickly that I feel, Denver, you're absolutely right. It's just going to be the vocal minority. But in some ways, I think Bryan is 20 years behind in certain aspects of culture. But I don't want to say too much being a school employee, but we have a really, what's the word I want? We have a visible population of students who are gay, transgender, queer. We have, it's there, and they need to be represented. And they need to see themselves. And I need to stop talking though. Yeah.
No, it's
okay.
Yeah. Don't get yourself in trouble, but I completely understand. I was a high school theater teacher in Texas for a few years before I started grad school. And one of the shows that we did was Looking for Normal. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that show, but it deals with it's a man that transitions, and he's married and has 2 teenage children, and you know, wants to stay married. And it's a very powerful show. It's a great show. And we actually had a transgendered woman come and talk to my students, and it was almost the exact same story. She was, when in her previous life, she was a man working for the oil industry. We were in Houston, working for the oil industry, and talked to her wife about it, and like kept an apartment. They wanted to wait until their children were out of school for her to transition, and they did. And she kept an apartment where she could go on the weekends and dress as her true identity. And after her kids graduated, she made the transition, and she's still married to her wife, which is kind of an incredible thing. And I think exposure to those stories in those very human ways, and the ways that they really happen, I think that's where the change happens, and that's where the new understandings come into play. It's just how do you introduce those in ways that don't feel an affront to people that don't have exposure to those things. You know, how do you walk that line? It's so challenging and frustrating too, that the line needs to be walked, but you know, you can't push people in the deep end and expect them all to swim. So I think it's a really, really interesting challenge.
Particularly in a small town in rural Northwest Ohio.
Yeah.
And I'm completely agree with Betsy. It is about 20 years behind. And sometimes that's not a bad thing, I have to grant you that. That's sometimes not a bad thing. But the number of people who talk to me privately about things and then say, but you can't tell anybody else.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm definitely not hiding anything about me. I like to tell the story that the day that the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, I had 3 calls from the Bryan Times and the radio station because I was the only gay person they knew.
Wow, you're
Right.
the
I'm the
town
face
gay.
of queer Bryan. It's
You're
really
the town gay. So such an honor. It's got to be.
Denver Henderson, the mouthpiece for
Yes.
the whole
Did they make you a crown?
population.
Do you have?
I am a parade of one. I am a parade of one.
And you work it. That parade is amazing.
It is. I mean, but yeah, that's like, I tried really hard to go in with no assumptions. I grew up in the suburbs outside of a large city. Fort Worth is a pretty large city. Dallas is even bigger. So I grew up in the DFW area, metropolitan. I lived in Portland, Oregon, which is not a huge city, but it is still, fairly metropolitan, very, very liberal. And now I'm in Philadelphia, which is another huge city, very diverse, very, very liberal. And so like, that's where I've been and what my lived experience is, and trying to not go impose myself into a community that I don't actually belong to and say, you're bad, you're wrong, you're XYZ.
Well, I'm kind of interested in hearing from Angie and Jeremy since they are natives.
Mm-hmm.
I've given my little spiel.
It was very interesting growing up here. I didn't have as many problems as Angie did. Obviously, I'm white male. We're given all sorts of passes. Here, especially, I was a complete nerd and dork that didn't play sports, and so that was cause for some ribbings and getting bullied and all of those sort of things. I think that's been going on since the dawn of time. This has kind of happened. But I found my own way. It helped me to find true friends that way, that I still have to this day. Most of them have moved away, as many of our classmates have. There's only a handful of us that actually stayed.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do a lot with just lack of opportunity, lack of voice. You've got the same people running this town that were running it when I was a child, and it's hard to get any ball rolling or any new things going on. One of the greatest things ever was me finding the theater. Though it gave me a sense of purpose, it gave me a sense of community, it gave me some of, as Denver had mentioned, some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. I've had the most fun. I've worked the hardest at anything with the theater, but it has been completely enjoyable. Well, not completely, 95% enjoyable. There's been a couple of stinkers you go through
that happens
in the years.
Yeah. There's always that one show you cringe when somebody mentions they saw you in it, and you're like, oh, no, that was my twin brother, Skippy.
Yeah. But then there's some ones that you want to yell, I did this, it was fantastic. Yeah. If you didn't see it, then bad for you.
I was brilliant. I was the brilliant director of that show.
I grew up, of course, been here all my life. I was born in Montpelier. But when I was younger growing up, there wasn't very many Hispanic families living here. There wasn't very many families of color at all here. It was, and we all know it's very conservative, but over the past, 30, 40 years, 20 years even, we've had so many more diverse families moving in and being a part of our community, and it's refreshing. But growing up and talking about the arts, I was in the orchestra, and I loved playing in the orchestra. And we are the only community that has a string orchestra west of I-75. So like all the other schools around here don't have that. And the music program at the school has diminished greatly, but there's the director, Brandon Gordon, is a former student of BHS, and he came back and he's taken on that director role, the teacher of the orchestra program. My 3 daughters are now a part of that orchestra program, you know, trying to keep the arts alive, because Bryan does support the arts.
Yeah.
And that has always been part of me growing up here, like trying to find who I was, what I was a part of. Orchestra had always been a part of myself. I've only been a part of the Williams County Community Theater for a couple of short years since Jeremy and I have been together, but in high school, I was a part of the theater program, and just trying to help keep that stuff, you know, alive and growing and going with our Gen Zers that, like Denver said, are gonna shape this world. But yeah, like been here all my life and still love the community. My parents stayed here, moved here, stayed here, and found it was an awesome community to raise a family in. And so we were raised, my family is being raised here. Jeremy and I went to high school together. So, you know, we are raising our families together here.
Yeah.
May I say that my criticism of Bryan comes from a place of love, because I see the potential of this being a great it is a great small town.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, but it has some things to work on, just like every other town in the country.
Yeah.
For instance, I've been working on a project about the history of theater in Williams County, and one of the dark chapters is that in the 50s and 60s we had minstrel shows here that community members participated in blackface. How am I going to confront that past? One, being an outsider, and 2, how do I tell you this is wrong? We need to talk about this. But none of my criticism is because I really dislike this place. I love it here. I want to stay here probably until I retire. But there are things we need to work on, and I think the arts are the gateway to do that.
I agree, and I didn't abandon this project, because when I got there, immediately the welcome I received from Betsy and her students, and just being able to be in the town, even in COVID times, even when so many things are closed, like this town is special. There is something special about this town. And I had the wonderful opportunity to talk to your mayor a couple of weeks ago. She and I had a phone conversation for about an hour. She's awesome, by the way. Really, really enjoyed talking to her. But, you know, she talked about what y'all were talking about attrition and how to address that, how to address people leaving, and how do you attract people to come and want to be a part of this community. And I think the arts is another way to do that. And I'm interested, again, in hearing from the people of the community how you want to welcome more people into the community, how you want to put a spotlight on Bryan, like what kinds of things can we do to really foster that growth? It's a big question. I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay. I have a 25-second answer to what's the meaning of life, if you'd like, but. But
I think I want to. These are the seeds I want to plant, and these are the things that I want to like tackle. Not that I want to solve them, but I think if we all start having these conversations and we all start working towards this, it really can change things. It really can grow the community. It really can become a more diverse place where more people are accepting of more things. Like these things can happen, you know.
Maybe it will take time. Maybe when Angie, Jeremy, and I are the old guard.
I mean,
no, honestly.
Are you saying I'm already a part of the old guard, Denver?
Yeah, you'll be part of the old guard.
Yeah, I am already.
Or maybe it comes from the 4 of us doing shows that have themes that we don't know. We know will, pardon my French, piss somebody off. You know, sometimes lighting a fire under somebody is much better than just trying to keep them passive.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of small groups in Bryan, a lot of service club organizations a lot of small groups that have formed and disbanded, but even with those groups that have formed and disbanded, there are still members of each of those groups that, you know, maybe some people would never have thought of, you know, being friends with each other or talking to each other, but hey, let's go and work on this project or this group, or hey, let's start this organization, or we need this group started to, you know, help foster kids, or, you know, kids that are coming in and out of the system. You know, just there have been so many collaborations that are born from other groups that have been formed and disbanded, that have just been so helpful. So even like you said, you know, what are we doing to welcome people in? You know, it's people forming groups, people who are here all the time, who live here, who are community members, and somebody who's moving from another community to say, hey, we did this in Columbus, or we did this in Pittsburgh, let's try this. And they've been successful or disbanded, but other groups have come out of those, and it's working together. And I know our community does that really, really well. Over even just this past year, with all the COVID mess, our community has come together a lot to keep things moving and to show just love and support, even if you don't know these people, if you don't know the group that's there, you know, whatever, but our community's a big heart.
And I think that's one of the great things about living here, is that the people actually care about each other. You kind of look out for one another. You know, most everybody that lives here loves living here. Now, it's going to be different reasons why they love being here, but there's a reason they chose this place, and it's a reason that they stuck with this place. It has its own charm. It really does. It has some gorgeous parks. You know, it has wonderful theater. You know, everybody should come and watch those. Not just Williams County Theater, not just FCF, the high school productions as well have been fantastic, especially over the last few years. I think Betsy has somewhat to do with that, her choices of shows, and the people that she picks, you know, have been wonderful. And I think that's a lot with this town.
Yeah.
I think Betsy, Ben Lupo, and Brandon Gordon are like the heart of what's good at Bryan High School. They really are.
That's kind. Thank you. We've got so many talented kids, and we're blessed. Definitely. When I moved here, I'm not a Bryan native either, and so 28 years ago when I came here, I told Katie this when I first met her. I didn't know what I was getting into. I actually started at Stryker, and but I remember I came to a Bryan performance. It may have been Oklahoma when Carol Curvow was directing, and I was just blown away. You know, even then, well, always, I think we've had some really, really talented kids in the area, and it is a blessing to have so many people that foster that. So it's been a blessing in my life for sure, but thank you.
And I think that's a really good thing about this community, is even though a lot of these kids, once they graduate, they leave here, I think we instill some pretty good values in those kids while they're here. So no matter where they go, they are good humans and good people when they get there. Which I think ultimately should be the goal of the schools and of the people that teach, and everybody else in the community that helps raise these kids. That's, you know, stop them when they, you know, stop to help them when you see them fall off their bike, or just, you know, simple things like that. And you know, and I think that's one of the greatest things about this place, is what we actually do for the kids and where they go, even if they don't stay here.
Yeah. There's particularly what Angie was saying about the group coming in and the help. There's a writer, and she's a movement builder, and she works in somatics a lot. Her name's Adrienne Marie Brown, and she wrote a book called Emergent Strategy, and it's about how to build social movements and how to organize. And she does a lot of social organizing, but she has this idea, there's two opposing ideas. There's mile wide, inch deep, when someone comes in from outside the community, makes all of these sweeping things, and like, we're gonna do all these big amazing things, and then they go bye, and they leave the people there without the resources necessary. And then there's the inch wide, mile deep, which is the smaller incremental work where you really dig into a community and you make those incremental small changes. And so I'm interested to see what other kind of incremental inch wide, mile deep work can be done to help this community. I know Mayor Schlade, after she said that after Arrow left, that it was a hit to the community, and it began kind of this decline in population and resources. And so, like, I feel like Bryan's on the cusp of like a resurgence, and it like can be something really great. And like, how do we do that? You know, what are the inch wide, mile deep things that we can really start to dig into?
And I think that's always been the problem with us, is what can we actually do? You know, we're a large manufacturing community, not just here, but anywhere within the area. And therein leads the problem for us is, you know, you don't bring in new factories, you don't bring in new corporations. A lot of times you don't bring in any new people. But as far as from a logistics standpoint, it's not the best place to be. There's no major highways. There's no great modes to transport your goods once you get them done, besides semi trucks. Yeah. You know, so that is something I know that the community has dealt with and has had a problem with for years. How to change it, I don't know. I'm not a politician. I don't deal with that end of things. You know, we just you know, but you know, and I know that's a large problem and always has been. You know, it's also just things to do, weekends, you know, with your kids. You've, like I say, we've got wonderful parks, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot of other areas for them to do. You know, there's no. We've got COSI's in Toledo. We've got, you know, larger places, putt-putt golfs, go-kart tracks outside of town.
But it's outside of town.
Yeah, but not a lot of family-friendly things inside of town. You know, something like that I think would help. But also, you know, when you're building a business like that, it's a small community. Do you get enough people to even be able to stay afloat? So it's this whole different bunch of layers of issues that we've been slowly trying to work through, and you know, and I think we're getting there step by step. But you know, there's always more to do and longer roads ahead.
Yeah,
and I think
it needs to come soon, because I've been hearing, at least in the last 5 years, more people say, "Well, Bryan's dying," and it's kind of a defeatist. We're accepting that it's going to decline and that it's going to go. And I think that's part of that. Maybe one of those deep things we need to do is start thinking more positively about it. And also, maybe stop looking at manufacturing as being our future, because we know that those large jobs are no longer even in this country. You know, it's not 1972. You can't go out of high school, get a factory job for 40 years and retire. You can't do that anymore. That's not. And like Jeremy said, I'm not a politician. I can't change people's minds. I'm just one little actor and librarian, darn it.
We do have some great community resources like WEDCO, Williams County Economic Development. I mean, they have done an enormous, phenomenal job getting companies, corporations to be here, to stay here. And they're, you know, they still do really well facing that uphill battle. But, you know, we do have the businesses and groups and organizations that are bringing them in and allowing to keep jobs, to make jobs and keep jobs, you know. But like Denver said, you know, you get the large corporation, but those jobs, most of the big jobs, you know, like the car manufacturers, they go overseas, or even in Spangler when they had to ship some of their manufacturing of goods down to Mexico or China. But you know, it's a cost thing. I know they have to look at that as well, but you know, they've done really well in growing our community, and that's why people do stay raise their family here.
And over the last few years, I've seen a lot of more like specialty shops, smaller type of businesses that probably wouldn't have flew 20 years ago here. But we've got a Walmart. A lot of people don't like the Walmart. A lot of people don't want to go there. So our downtown is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely gorgeous. It has some wonderful old buildings, some wonderful old storefronts to them. And you'll see businesses come in. Sometimes they don't last. Sometimes they last forever. It just kind of depends. But I think that's one of the nice things is that people at least try. We've got some great specialty shops, some great specialty artists that do things. We've got people that make some fantastic things and products from around here. You go to any of the fall fests and stuff like that. It's great to see what these people can come up with, and that's a different sort of art, not one that I can do, but
Right.
in any respect. So I have a lot of respect for these people. They can find something, look at it, and just turn it into something beautiful.
I mean, I would the next Yellow Springs, Ohio, where it becomes basically an arts community.
Yeah.
And we do that. And that's our new economy is art and craft and festivals and things like that. Because we're not going to get Ford GM, we're not going to get Microsoft to put a plant here. We're not, those days are gone. Now telling somebody over the age of 60 that, I'm going to get yelled at, But with people like Angie and Jeremy and all of our other friends who understand that. Yeah. And we also haven't spoken of the fact that the opioid crisis hit this community hard. And that's left us reeling.
Yeah.
And it continues to hit hard. So, and I think that's one of the things we have to deal with too.
Yeah.
Because I see some of our politicians don't even kind of, at least locally, won't even recognize that, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's still happening.
Yeah. So. That's such a hard thing to deal with. Philadelphia currently where I'm at is very, very hurt by the opioid epidemic. It's really, really bad. And it's so hard to deal with, and you really need so many resources. Philadelphia is the poorest large city in the nation. So, despite our size, we really are quite under-resourced to deal with that. And so,
and that horrible cycle of you lost your job, you became addicted, you want to get a new job, they drug test you, you are an addict, you don't get the job, therefore you go back to the drugs, and it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible to watch it. When our computer lab was open, I know that there was a guy that came in for 4 months in a row to apply for jobs and would always lose them because I also knew he was an addict. He was trying, but he would lose. He would not get the job, go back on the dope, get a little straight, try to get a job, and I don't think people want to have that conversation. Yeah. They say, "Oh, it's sad. That so and so overdosed?"
Right.
Well, it's also sad that you didn't talk to him 20 months ago.
But you have to have those conversations in order to start fixing things, right? I mean, these conversations need to happen. And these, what we're doing right now, I think this is important. The discussion of manufacturing leaving the town and how hard the town has been hit by it. And then the realization that manufacturing may not come back to the town. It may not be the most viable option for Bryan. Like, what are other things that we can do? And I think moving towards the arts is a wonderful thing. I think there's a tiny town in Texas called Marfa, another very small, very flourishing artist community. Yeah, Marfa, Texas, big deal.
I read an article about it a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it's an incredible place. And
I have a file full of articles about towns that turned to the arts and made themselves great. So I've been thinking about this for a while. That's why I said Yellow Springs.
And I've never heard of Yellow Springs, and I'm gonna have to look at that.
Where Dave Chappelle is
Ohio
from.
Awesome.
No way. Really?
Yeah, he lives there.
I didn't know.
Dave Chappelle lives there. Like David Letterman just did an interview with him. Yeah, the whole My Next Get What on Netflix. Yeah, on his farm, right after COVID started, and they just aired it the other day. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Huh.
Cute little town. Yeah, it's down near Dayton, right, Denver?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great little town. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And I think that's something that we can do. We're picturesque. A lot of the buildings, a lot of the places are so picturesque here that we really should be able to, use that natural beauty and this built beauty that we have here to bolster the town back up, and expand it and just blow this whole thing up. I think it would be fantastic.
And it can be done. I mean, it really not impossible.
One more thing, and then I have to go because I'm dog sitting my mom's dogs.
Sure.
I had a friend come from Athens, and I took him on a tour of the public square, and he said, if I were a designer for a movie and I needed the typical Midwest town, I would shoot the movie in Bryan. It is when you think Midwestern, Norman Rockwell, wholesome, all shucks town, you see Bryan.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with Tony. We're picturesque. We're also centrally located between two major cities, 3 hours away from Chicago, 2.5 hours away from Detroit. We can draw on all that too.
Yeah.
So I have ideas. And I'm going to do another video for your show, for your project, but I really have to go feed some dogs right now. So
Thank you so
bye
much.
bye, guys. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, I'll be watching, guys. I'll be watching you tonight.
Yes, me too.
Betsy, I adore you. Take care.
Same. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. We don't have to stay much longer. I know that you guys have a show tonight, which I cannot wait to watch. So excited. We're kind of closing
here from my couch, not moving.
That's right.
That's okay. You can stay there and watch. I can't wait. It'll be a good show.
Fun. Yeah. I want to say one of the people following us, watching, is Scott Goebel, who is an artist in his own right. I don't know if Angie and Jeremy, you know Scott, but he's actually my husband's cousin. And he's born and raised not in Bryan, but in Williams County, and he's an amazing artist. So maybe we can get him to, he just said art makes miracles happen, and he's so right. So maybe we can get him on board with anything that comes out of this. So thanks for watching, Scott.
Yes, thank you, Scott. This has been so great. I had no idea what to expect. I really didn't know how this was going to go. Who I was going to get to talk to, but I'm so glad that I got to meet you folks, Angie and Jeremy and Denver. Do you have any questions, clarifying things that I can possibly answer in regards to what in God's name I'm trying to do?
Well, I'm following you on Facebook, so I've saw a few things that you done, the video that you did earlier this year. I think you posted it maybe a few months ago, but no, I don't know if Jeremy's watched it or followed, but I'll make him.
It's like 5
I've seen the
minutes.
stuff. It's just I haven't looked at it any closer, but I will now.
How many entries have you gotten, Katie?
It's weird. So people are not interacting with this the way that I thought they would. So I'm getting emails. I haven't gotten any video submissions yet. I'm getting emails. One woman called the Bryan Times to tell them she might know someone who knows my dad, and gave them her phone number to give to me. She has no email. It was her landline. And she's a sweet baby angel named Thelma. She was wonderful. She's part of, I didn't know this existed. She is a member of the Postmark Collectors Club, not stamps, postmarks. She's amazing.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
She was awesome. I talked to her for like half an hour this morning. She was great. And she doesn't know my dad, but someone that he might have worked with died recently. And he had these boxes of files that were like letters to Arrow from like international buyers wanting to buy their whatever. And his kids, the guy that died, his kids were going to throw all these boxes away. And she's like, no, let me keep them. I want the postmarks. And so she has these boxes of all of these random letters with all these international postmarks. And so she's going to go through them and see if any were addressed to my dad.
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's small town for you. That's
yeah,
great.
Yeah. So people are not interacting with it the way that I thought they would. And so it's just like, I'm trying to pivot and figure out like how I can keep soliciting responses and generating interest in a way that's accessible to people. Like if video is just not what they want to do, then okay, great, don't. Yeah. This is for the community. And so I want it to be accessible to the community and figure out ways that they would like to participate. So.
Well, I'm pretty excited about the possibility of, or where this conversation took us.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of we are all agreeing about certain things, how much we love this place and how proud we are of its history and its talent and the artists and the thinkers, and like Jeremy said, people who leave here but come back here or are here because they love it. And I'm really interested in where that whole taking Denver's idea about maybe becoming more of an arts community, because like Angie said, we do have the orchestra, we have all of these people interested in theater, we have some amazing talent in all areas of the arts. We really do.
Yeah.
I think they may be onto something there. That's exciting.
I think so too. I think it'd be worth like figuring out how to leverage that and use this project as a vehicle to help spotlight this town, and to kind of generate that sort of interest. I don't know what that looks like yet, but
no, but it's exciting.
Yeah. I think, will there be more meetings?
Scott, yeah. We'll have to get in touch with Scott.
Yeah, Scott, I'm having trouble when I try to click to comment, it pulls up Facebook Live, so then it pulls up the video that's got a 20-second lag on top of my Zoom. So I'm not gonna reply in the comments, but I will say, yes, I would love to do another meeting like this. I am actually gonna be presenting all of the stuff I've done so far as my thesis on December 8th, and I will be posting more about that. And it's just like free Zoom thing. It's an invited conversation about my project if anybody's interested. I'll get more details about that when that happens. But this kind of conversation, I definitely want to have again. I would love to do that again. So I will figure out when that can be possible. Yes, I think. Anything else?
Best of luck on your defending your thesis. That's exciting.
So,
absolutely, yes, it's a lot of work. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Do you need anything else from us for that?
I mean, no. I mean, it's all good. I don't know. Knock on wood. Okay, I'm gonna let Angie and Jeremy go. Particularly, I know you have a show this evening, which I cannot wait to see. I'm so excited to watch
the
it.
Williams County Community Theater Facebook page, live at 8 o'clock. There's 6 of us performing live, just trying to keep our theater, hopping and bring some entertainment.
Do something. We
want to do something.
Well, it's partially for us, and then but it's mostly for everybody else. A little bit of normalcy, even if it is just still sitting at home. Letting you know, hey, there's still people out here in your community that are looking to do this, and they're still continuing to do this even throughout this. And so, and then also hopefully a way for us to raise a little bit of money, because this year has been tough, not being able to put on any shows. You don't really bring in any money for it. So, please donate as well. We've got a GoFundMe link as well during the performance, and any donations would be appreciated.
Heard loud and clear. I'll try. Do you have on your page, do you have an event that I can share, or a post about it that I can share?
I think there is. I'll check and see, and I'll shoot you a message. But
okay, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, with that, Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully
It's been
we'll talk
fun.
soon.
Yeah. Best of luck. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Bye. See ya.
Thanks. Good luck. Bye.
Bye.